Do you ever go to an event to try to make new friends and leave questioning if you wasted your time? You look around the place and notice that everyone has their own clique. You feel like you're back in high school, wondering what to do and whether you did something wrong. You're not alone. So many adults, young and old, are experiencing the same issue with making and maintaining connections with others. Welcome to Hey Kristen, a channel where we discuss social topics that affect you, me, and everyone in between. Please feel free to subscribe, comment, and like if you enjoy the content on this channel. So today we're discussing how making friends feels impossible nowadays. So friendship is supposed to be the easy relationship. So low pressure, no labels. You just find people that you connect with. So when that starts to feel impossible, it can start to trigger shame. So basically you questioning if there's something wrong with you, which is not the case. It's a lot of people that are experiencing the same thing. According to the American Perspectives survey, 12% of U.S. adults now report having no close friends. That's quadrupled since 1990. Meanwhile, the number of people with 10 or more close friends has dropped by nearly 2/3. In school and in college, friendship is built into the architect of your life. You're seeing the same people on a consistent basis. You're sharing the same routines. You have built-in conversation starters like, hey, what's today's homework? Or did you see what's going on in so-and-so's classroom? And also, too, you're in an environment where it's designed for you to mingle and also encouraged by the teachers or professors working in a group for a project or for today's lesson or wherever it may be. So after graduation, that system disappears and you try to do the same thing possibly at work and it does not give you the same outcome. You may have some people that you connect with at work, and also too you have some people that you appear to connect with at work, and that ends up going into flames. We're going to discuss that too later in this video, so stay tuned.
Man, it just hit me how dope college was, and I miss it, but not in the way you think. I do not, I look great right now. I look better now. I look better by the day. I do not look back on those days in that kind of way. I'm not like y'all. But I remember the way I met my best friend was he was playing music, and I just walked into his room and was like, yo, man, I like this. And I thought about that because today, someone was playing music in my building, and I just thought I was on my couch alone, and I was just like, yo, I wish I could just pull up on this person and just kick it. You know what I mean? I don't know who it is. It's just, I just hear music. I want to follow the music and just kick it. But you can't really do that as an adult. It's kind of unfortunate.
Hikikomori, or social withdrawal in Japanese, is a state of severe social withdrawal where individuals confine themselves at home, often for months or years. They deliberately avoid social connection with family and friends, frequently substituting social connections with digital activities like gaming or internet browsing. And the term was coined in Japan in the late 1980s. The Japan Times shared that over 1 million people live in social isolation in Japan today, cut off from work, school, and even family. So 1.46 million people, to be precise, or 2% of those aged 15 to 62, according to a 2023 Cabinet Office survey. A significant portion of people in their 30s and 40s live in this lifestyle, and we must acknowledge that some young people engage in social isolation. It's important to note that we always see young people in the documentaries, and eventually those young people grow up to be in this lifestyle still, or they could depart, but for the most part we see them still continue. This lifestyle became more relevant in the United States when we experienced the pandemic, where isolation was required and promoted. Based on the studies when it comes to the United States, we're roughly seeing the same number of people, or that same percentage of 2% in the US that are living the same way in this social isolation. There are several factors that could lead to someone choosing this lifestyle, including academic pressure, family dynamics, mental health, and job market instability. As you can see by just these factors that I've listed, these are current issues right now that can be in any country, including the United States. And it does lead to social isolation, depression, mental health issues.
Is your room?
これが僕の部屋でもう生まれた時からこの家にも50年以上住んでるんですけども寝てたりしてもう動けない日はずっと寝てるかコンピューターやってるか、たまに本読んだり書いたり。
All your work which you write. Okay.
The government estimates there are more than 1 million hikikomori across Japan. Most are over 40. Kenji has lived like this for half his life. He says he doesn't fit in with Japanese society.
自分がここにいていいと思えないとか、いても自分が自分らしくいられないとか、自分が今本当の自分として生きていないんじゃないかとか、自然じゃない何かやらされている役割を演じさせられている、そういう感覚。
A major reason adult friendships are harder is the disappearance of third places, places where people gather to socialize and build community. We discuss third places on this channel and how they are slowly becoming obsolete. The majority of places require payment and do not create an environment that encourages people to want to return on a consistent basis. So, when you go to certain places, like for instance, a coffee shop, every time you go, if you want to be in that environment, you're going to have to pay money for a coffee or a pastry or something of some sort. If we look at a Medium article that was published in 2025 last year, it is noted that America has roughly 35,000 museums, 350,000 places of worship, 17,000 public libraries, 20,000 local, municipal, and state parks, and 8,000 farmers markets. Originally, third places did not involve money and were free to the community. Based on that principle, we can rule out some of these things that are listed out in this article, including the farmers market, the museums, and the state parks. These places require a small fee. Now, you can argue that with the farmers market, you can just browse, but most farmers markets are not going to be large, and you're going to be encouraged to spend money, pretty much. Also, too, it is important to note that not everyone is or seeks to be associated with a place of worship. Some worship at home or have no interest in religion. With these factors that we have just listed here, we can basically rule out like half of the things that were listed. So you're basically left with probably like a local park. Maybe you can go to a local park and find people, or like the public library. Some of them host events that could be free. So just overall, we have a problem with not having third places, and we really need to bring those back.
Third spaces aren't profitable, and that's why they don't exist. If you've been on Twitter or TikTok, you've probably been heard a lot of people saying how there's no such thing as third spaces anymore. Third spaces were largely places people could go for free and hang out and do recreation. Think about like pickup games, basketball, art, just community building overall. Now, I work in politics and government, and I'm going to tell you right now, when most cities are thinking about bringing things to their city, they're thinking about, does it make us money? I don't say I agree with that, but that's how a lot of development is thinking about. Overall, what are the taxes that are going to bring in to help the bottom line of the budget? That's why I think it's important that when cities build out or do things, they really take into consideration the experience that they're giving to their citizens and not just about the profit. What's interesting about this dialogue about how there's no third spaces and wanting more community is also this dialogue where people say, well, I want to elect this politician because they know how to run a business. Well, just like business equals profit. So when you say you want your government to be more efficient, to run like a business, you're essentially saying you only want your government to do things that are for the profit and not for recreation. So we can either make third spaces more profitable, like pickleball, or we can make the conscious decision to say we just want to have a fun place to hang out.
Adult friendships don't just require time, they require energy. Energy that's being sucked by responsibility like work. Now, I cannot speak from the perspective of someone with children, so I will stay in my lane and focus on what applies to me. So typically we work 8 hours and our commute can end up being 2 hours. I have that sort of commute. And we cannot use that time, of course, for hobbies or interests. You're going to have to focus on the road, sadly enough. This does not include the hours that are spent sleeping, working out, if that applies to you, and cleaning, if you have a designated day to clean. You should allow time if you have more responsibilities, including children, if you're a caregiver for a parent or someone, school, and then what we see a lot nowadays is someone has like an additional job or jobs, and that takes up a lot of time as well. We barely have time in the day for ourselves. We are depleted in our energy and emotional with bandwidth, especially if you work in the healthcare field, which I completely understand, work in the mental health field. And we want to save that time for ourselves basically at the end of the day and those that we love. Now ask yourself, do you have time to be a good friend or reciprocate what you want in a potential friend at the end of the day? So there's conflicting advice when it comes to people at the workplace. Some people say that you should not make friends and just do your job and go home, while others recommend building connections and friendships through the work environment. This depends on your experiences and what people have shared with you. So we're going to cover both sides of this coin, and I will also open the floor for you to share your experiences and what side you pick in the comments below. So we're going to start with the positive. So when experiencing a difficult time, you can rely on your workplace buddies to lighten the mood so you're not feeling so alone in your emotions, and also reduce the likelihood of you slipping a 2 weeks notice. Most importantly, these connections help when you're trying to transition out of the workplace. You might ask them for a letter of reference or even have them assist you with trying to transition to maybe the place that they're moving to or they have transitioned to as well. It could be a better environment. So here are some of the negative things. So sometimes making workplace connections can lead to you being involved in drama. So let's go with this scenario to make things a lot easier for everyone. So you tell your workplace buddy Tommy how you feel about Stacy, and they communicate that to someone else who eventually gets that around the office. One thing leads to another, and now you are in the office answering to your manager, and who wants to go through that? I know I don't. Additionally, you must ask yourself if the relationship makes completing tasks difficult, including communicating constructive criticism or something negative. Some people might become offended despite you having the best interests for them and everyone on the team. So you also have to consider that as well. So what side do you select in this? Are you for having workplace buddies or are you against it? And please share your experiences too in the comments.
What is a friendship lesson that you've had to learn the hard way as an
Don't confuse your coworkers with your friends. Don't do it. One thing that we learned in industrial organizational psychology is that everyone always has an agenda. This is not to say that the agenda is negative. However, before calling someone your friend, you have to understand their ethics and their morals, because you never know what lengths someone would go to ensure that they get things their way. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't make friends at work. Yes, you should. People have work wives, work husbands, work besties, those folks that really help you get through the day. But what I'm saying is those relationships truly take time to really cultivate. So when you start a new job, don't go off telling everyone your life story. You have to take some time to truly observe, to get used to the dynamics, to learn the culture before you can sort of assimilate to it.
The moment you meet someone at work that you think, you know what, I could be friends with this person. Like, I can actually see myself hanging out with them. And especially if you could see yourself hanging out with them outside of work, you're like, ooh, I think I might have one, okay? Whether you're new at the job or they're new at the job, the moment that you think you got one, okay, when you think you got yourself a new coworker bestie, you start testing out those waters real quick. You start throwing little comments out like, okay, are they going to side with me on this, or are they going to defend that person? They're going to defend the situation. You're kind of testing out, are we going to be able to trash talk those coworkers that get on our nerves? Are we going to be able to complain about things together? Like, what's the vibes? Those first few combos are critical. They are crucial, because if they fail that test and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this might have been a false alarm, they are really not a coworker bestie, it's okay, you just let them go. But if you're lucky enough to find yourself a new coworker bestie, and they don't come around often, okay, we don't get new coworker besties often, there's not very many amazing people in the workplace anymore, but the moment we get one, we're holding on to them for a while.
Your work friends should not be your only friends. This is also a hot take, but I've seen it happen to many friends where they invest so much time in their work friend group and their working relationships, and they're at every happy hour together, they're hanging out on weekends. Layoffs happen, team restructures, they lose their job, and now they've lost their entire friend group too. I know that's so dark and we don't want that to happen, but there should be things in your personal life that your coworkers don't know about.
I talk a lot, so I've learned to just tune myself out.
I'm the biggest advocate for having your work bestie, building close personal relationships with your coworkers. There needs to be a small professional boundary that's maintained.
Any of you need anything at all, too bad.
Once that boundary is crossed, you run the risk of losing their respect, saying something that they might fundamentally disagree with that changes the way they view you professionally, or even just losing that trust of now maybe they're second guessing the person you are or the work you're putting in during the workday.
When we are making and establishing relationships, we can approach all possible connections in the same way to reduce the probability of becoming overwhelmed. So number one, instead of agreeing to meet just one day, go ahead and set up a date and time to meet and the location. So this will put words into action, and if the person is interested in having a connection with you, you'll be able to see it. Number two, focus on proximity. So it's best to find people that are in your local area and not necessarily next door to you, but in the metroplex, or maybe at least 30 miles away, max, or 40, up to you. Number three, you can be the one to follow up, but not all the time. So you follow up at least once, and to give yourself some credit for trying to make the relationship work. If they're not interested in communicating with you, hopefully they will tell you that. And if not, you can ask them, hey, are you interested in having a friendship, relationship, whatever it may be with me? And you can have that conversation and make a decision there. And the last one, consider that what you want in a friend, pretty much. So the qualities you want, and what type of friend are you to others? Like, what qualities do you bring to the table? It's so easy for us to say that we want a friend, but most of us cannot list the qualities that we want in that individual, or the qualities that we bring to the table as well. In today's society, where isolation seems like a safer bet than making connections, it makes sense that people are choosing to minimize their social interactions. Also, too, what we see on social media, when people do try to put themselves out there or just live their lives, you run the risk of someone recording you and putting you online. So it is very scary. Despite this, still try to have some sort of interactions with other people, and even if it doesn't end up going the way that you expected, at least know that you put yourself out there. So if you struggled with adult friendships or relationships, share your biggest barrier for you. So is it time, anxiety, distance, or just not knowing where people meet nowadays? Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.